All right. I'm just going to make a very, very quick video just on my initial impressions of this new controller that I ordered and was delivered today. Just before, obviously, I go over and start talking about this Scuf Envision Pro controller, just want to clarify that this is not a paid promotion, and obviously I paid for this controller out of my own money. I am not sponsored by Scuf by any stretch of means, but just wanted to clarify that because sometimes people will assume that people are, and obviously I'm not, so I just wanted to clarify that. But this is obviously just a very quick initial impressions of this controller. I'll do probably a bit more of an in-depth review, over the coming weeks as I, get used to this new controller and, become a bit more, a bit more acclimatized to using this. But this Scuf controller stood out for me as a new alternative to playing obviously fighting games on my PC. Up until obviously now, until today, I've been using this PlayStation 5, just a standard DualSense. But I've been having a lot of issues with it lately, and this controller is it's only less than 12 months old actually. But I noticed that the block button wasn't actually working correctly, so I pulled it apart and I found that the tab had one of the tabs had broken off. And if you see this, it actually wiggles quite a lot. And if I compare that to, say, my other button, so I'm just going to focus it a little bit, it doesn't actually move nowhere near as much compared to this one. This one's like just wobbles. And I'm barely touching that, but as you can see, it's just wobbling left and right. And I found sometimes if I held it down, and as you can see, I'm holding that block down, but it's moving left and right. And I would occasionally, when I was playing, for example, Mortal Kombat, I would let go of block, and I was wondering what the hell was going on. So obviously, when I pulled it apart, I found, that one of the tabs inside had completely broken off. So I was on the hunt for a new controller, and this Scuf Envision Pro Hall Effect controller seemed quite popular from what I could see online. It's particularly for fighting games and FPS games as well. So I did a lot of research, looked into it, and it seemed to be exactly what I needed. I prefer to have the D-pad obviously in the top left-hand corner, like a PlayStation controller, and I wanted something that I felt comfortable in playing. And the PlayStation 5 controller, whilst it's obviously good, it's a very fast controller. It's got excellent, very low input latency, and you can overclock this controller as well. The controller is incredibly bulky in your hands, and I was getting very painful cramps in my palms. And I could only play for sometimes an hour or two at most, and that was pretty much the extent of my gaming before I had to take a break. But this Scuf controller fits absolutely fantastic in my hand, and it is just so comfortable to hold. Like, it is unbelievable how comfortable this feels. Again, I will do a bit more of an in-depth review about obviously the function, the features, and all of that at a later time. But I just wanted to give, those initial early impressions of what I thought about it. First and foremost, obviously, very comfortable, very good ergonomics. Quite like obviously the feeling, of how the control sits in my hand. And I've already played a couple of games online, and very, very much enjoyed. Very much enjoyed being able to not feel cramps in my hands whilst I was playing. Sorry, I was just a bit unfocused there. I apologise. I was just trying to turn my music down. I didn't realise it was so loud. That's the first thing. Obviously, the first impressions is I just played for well over an hour, and no problems whatsoever. No cramps on my hand. Didn't feel anything like that. And probably the most important thing that I noticed with this controller straight away was the D-pad. The D-pad is just absolutely wonderful. I've never played with a D-pad quite like this. Well, I'll correct that in saying that the D-pad is very similar to an Xbox D-pad. However, this is a completely mechanical D-pad. So if you can hear that, it's obviously completely directional, all sides, but every click is completely mechanical and it is crisp. Doing like combos that require or special inputs that require down back or back down back, etc. Forward down forward. This has just been an absolute pleasure to play with, and that was something I really struggled with the PlayStation controller, being that this is obviously like a D-pad it's not a split D-pad, even though it looks like a split D-pad. The inputs I felt just constantly it didn't recognize it at times. And even though this controller is less than 12 months old, you can hear that the rubber inside of it has just gone to absolute shit. And I cleaned it out completely with isopropyl alcohol, and it still sounds terrible. So the rubber's obviously perished behind the D-pad, and it's just not able to withstand it anymore. So that was one of the things I noticed straight away with obviously the Scuf, was the D-pad just feels awesome. Obviously all the other buttons are completely mechanical as well. So all of your input buttons are completely mechanical. It does have obviously your standard, mechanical L1 and L2 buttons. It also has very short throw or mechanical touch, L2, R2s, but you can also adjust the triggers for full range of motion as well, just by flicking one of those switches down. It's going to be a bit hard for me to do it with one hand. Again, we'll do that in a full in-depth review. And then down here, there's these G keys. Now, these G keys you can use for various different things. At the moment, the standard ones are like mute, volume up, volume down, and then turning on your microphone on and off, and then disabling the RGBs. So if you don't want to have the RGB lights on, you can just turn it off. And then there's the input for the microphone if you wanted to use, or your headphones, etc. This thing doesn't do anything. It's just for aesthetics, but it looks kind of cool though. It doesn't really need to be there personally, if you ask me, but something there obviously just to make it look kind of cool. Grip wise, obviously it's got very, very nice like rubbery grips on it as well. Obviously it's brand new, so I don't have any idea how long it's going to last for, but it is super grippy in your hand, holds really well. And that's been obviously quite noticeable already as I was playing a couple of games just earlier on Fightcade. Plenty of other remappable buttons as well. It's got these little side ones. Now these ones here, I've actually put blanking plates in at the moment, but if you look on the box, you can actually see just here these buttons on the side. I think they call it like S1, S2. So it's obviously like an additional button that you can use to press on the side, or have your finger up here and you can actually use your finger like that to press it. I took them out just because obviously I prefer to have it a clean feel. And it's the same obviously for the back as well. So you've got these additional buttons here, which are like a P3 or P4 or something like that. There's actually two of them on the sides there. So you've got that one and this one as well. This does come with blanking plates for those as well, if you do wish to remove them. I've just disabled the mapping on those, so they don't do anything at the moment. But as obviously as I get better, with the controller, I might obviously use that for certain other inputs. I don't know yet. I've never really been a big firm believer of dual inputs, but it might be something I'd consider in the future to obviously remain competitive. Regarding the controller itself, there's nothing really special that comes with it. You get obviously your standard stuff like your USB thumb drive for wireless. You can do Bluetooth obviously with it as well. It comes with a whole bunch of blanking plates, as I said earlier before, so it comes with all the spares for those. And then below the box, there's like the prying tool to obviously open up the case, etc. as well. It came with a high-speed USB cable. Comes with a USB-C adapter as well, so if you prefer to not use a straight USB, you can obviously plug it into USB-C as well. But that's pretty much it. Nothing, didn't really come with anything else. I wish it came with a carry case, to be honest. Considering how much this controller cost, it was 289 Australian, so quite an expensive controller. I think that's like about $170, $180 US. equivalent, but yeah, quite expensive for a controller. And I didn't think I actually would have ever spent that kind of money ever, on a controller before. But obviously, I love playing fighting games, as all of you know on my channel, and I wanted to get something that I felt like I could actually compete with, and I feel so far from my initial impressions that this Scuf controller is definitely going to help me at least get better and feeling more confident in my controller. The PlayStation controller, whilst it's been good, like it was a great controller. As you can see, it's had plenty of use. And this definitely, I noticed a huge change when I went to this controller versus my previous 8-bit Do controller that I had before. That was just so slow. It had incredibly high input latency, and I was losing fights quite regularly just because it had slow inputs. This changed when I went to the PlayStation. This controller here, as far as I'm aware, you can't overclock it. It's got a fixed polling rate. But just from my initial impressions between the Scuf and the PlayStation 5 controller, they feel very much relatively the same. I mean, that's obviously it's going to be very hard to compare when you're talking milliseconds. But I do believe the PlayStation, I think on paper, is still technically faster. But this feels better with the mechanical inputs. So like this obviously being, we'll have a touch sensitive board underneath of it. Prone for failure, potentially, inputs not being registered, not 100% sure, but I have felt at times where the PlayStation controller maybe didn't recognize inputs, but so far, playing for an hour and a bit, this feels good. So that's pretty much all I really wanted to go over, like initially, was just, initial thoughts, why I went for the controller. Obviously, it is a PC controller as well. Now, a few people have already commented and said, well, why didn't you go, something that was multi-platform? Well, I don't really play much else, on my Xbox, for example. Like my Xbox, I predominantly play, like Forza or adventure type games, and I'm very happy to play, my Xbox Series X controller with that. But for my PC, which obviously I run like an Asus gaming laptop, I wanted obviously a proper gaming controller, which is predominantly what I play on here is my fighting games, and this, from what I was able to find online, answered all of my questions, and it is what I guess needed to feel comfortable in in my fighting games. So very happy with it. Yes, again, very expensive, very pricey, but I think short term impressions impressions, worth it. Time will tell. Obviously, I haven't played too many competitive games yet, so we'll see, and we'll do a full in-depth review in the coming weeks as I get used to the controller and have a few more online battles. But yeah, very cool. The RGBs are beautiful on it as well. You can obviously disable them in the menu. You can change the different color arrays, and then you can change it from flashing to rolling, etc. It's in the standard software that comes with the controller, so it's nothing spectacular, but it's basically it's a Corsair program, if I remember correctly when I was looking at it. It's just designed obviously to operate the controller. You can remap buttons and do things like that. That's all it does. It's nothing spectacular. So yeah, that's very quick. The Scuf Envision Pro. I'll let you know how I go. Keen to hear your thoughts as well. If you've had experience with this controller, put it in the chat, put in the comments, and let me know. I've never had a Scuf before, and obviously I've heard nothing but good things from them. Their build quality, they're one of the best controllers in the market. So thought I'd give it a crack and see what was all hyped up to be. But thanks everyone for joining into this. It was just a very quick video just to talk, initial thoughts, and we'll come back in a couple of weeks and we'll do a bit more of an in-depth discussion, do a review. We'll do some testing, obviously, online as well, and do some gameplay, etc., showing you how it all works, and go from there. But thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your support as always, and we'll catch you all soon for another video. Thank you very much.